Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Ed, aka Ciucevich Tech Man. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a monumentous episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast. I'm your host, Ed Ciucevich, sometimes known by my gamer tag, Ciucevich Tech Man. And that's when I get to game, and I haven't had time to do that in a long time. And forgive me when I straighten my Star Wars hat here. It's getting it together there. So you may be able to see at the bottom of the screen here if you're watching this on YouTube. We are available. Our social media accounts are on YouTube. We're Geek Homeworld. If we're on Instagram, we're also Geek Homeworld. If you are following our tweets on Twitter, we're Geek Homeworld. So pretty much standard across the board there. And on Facebook, of course, we exist as Geek Homeworld, and you can go over there and see some interesting posts about the film industry and other things that we talk about. And we also have a little offshoot of the Geek Homeworld, and it's called Geek Homeworld Gaming. And so when I do some gaming, like maybe Facebook gaming or whatever, I'll cross-post that probably to the Geek Homeworld YouTube channel, which you should subscribe and click that notification button and thumbs up on all the videos, and leave your comments and questions and stuff like that. One does not get 150 episodes of a podcast, which is now also in video form. But mainly it's an audio podcast, and one doesn't get there without a lot of hard work and determination. It's been 6 years, I think, coming up on 7 in September, like September 8th, I think will be our 7-year anniversary of the podcast. Really 6 years of active podcasting. The first year I started the podcast when the Digital Man Cave podcast ended. I've got a whole episode or two scattered throughout the archives of the podcast, which, by the way, you can also listen. This is also exists as an audio podcast, as it always will, on anywhere that you get your podcasts, such as Apple Podcast. I like the Google Podcast app. I'm very familiar with that one. Got a lot of podcasts that I follow on there. I listen to weekly at least. And we're also on Anchor, which distributes it to a lot of different podcasts. But we are on a whole different bunch of platforms, and we have a worldwide audience here at Geek Homeworld, so I'm excited about that. We're always trying to grow it. Trying to grow, of course, the YouTube presence and get more community on the YouTube channel. So that's always appreciated when people take the time out of their busy schedules to be a part of the Geek Homeworld. There's a lot of exciting things I want to do. When I'm recording this, I started off at March 27th. It's really March 28th now. Very early in the morning, March 28th. So the energy level might be a little bit lower than usual. I'm currently working on a feature film, which soon probably got another month of that, possibly, if not more. And it's been a very exciting, wonderful experience. And one day I'll be able to talk about it all, and you'll forgive me while I yawn there. That's so rude, but it's late. But I wanted to get this podcast done, and going through it's funny with technology. It's like so easy, and then sometimes it's so difficult. It's like I forget all the interfaces and setting up the lighting and everything else, and And I've got it looks like a jungle mess in front of me, but it all works out and it all comes together. I've still got some of, if you can see in the video, my additional lighting. I think I'm going to keep that. Yes, it's Christmas lighting technically, but so what? Lighting is lighting, right? So it's whatever you want it to be. So I'm excited for the podcast. I'm excited for where we've been with the podcast, where we're going with it, and I'll just tell you a little bit journey of how I got here. I've been podcasting since 2008, and that's a long time. And forgive me if I'm looking at the camera. I'm a little scruffy, like a scruffy nerd, nerf herder here, like Han Solo, apparently, as Princess Leia once thought of Han. And I am I'm excited about the prospect of continuing to podcast. If I do even just one more episode, it'll be the most episodes I've ever done for a podcast. For about 6 years, I did 150 episodes of the digital. Always get it wrong. It's the Digital Man Cave podcast. Just a fun podcast that we had, a very long form type of disorganized at best. Just several friends that got together and we talked about just whatever, all these geeky fun things and films that we watched. 2020 has been a tough year because there's not been much to watch. Everything's been streaming or otherwise, and so it's just been an interesting ride and trying to figure out where everything is going with podcasting and kind of moving ahead with all of that and making things, being able to see things like films and stuff like that. We are on just about the end of this month, which we're basically at the end of the month, but coming, actually I think it's this week. Is it this week or next week? And I'm going to look at my calendar here, forgive me, but I'm pretty sure it's dropping this week, definitely. It's March 28th now when I'm recording this, so it's already done about 50 million overseas, possibly 100 million this week, but I think next weekend we're getting simultaneous release of Godzilla vs. Kong, which has one of the, if not the best trailer I've seen all year. Excuse me again there. It's really late. It's like 1 something. It's almost 1:45 in the morning, but I had to get this done. So forgive me if I'm a little scatterbrained, if I'm a little not there, and if my lighting isn't too good and all the shuffling I'm doing around here in the studio. But anyway, it's been a very interesting time getting this far. I started podcasting, like I said, in 2008. I did for 6 years. I think it was about 6 years. I did the Digital Man Cave podcast. So that would be 2008 to, let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then 2014, I actually, on the same day, so it's kind of become a thing, I started Geek Homeworld, and then my mother got ill, and I ended up losing in the process of that year, and it was a very tough year. It was, it's never good when you lose someone, and 2020 taught a lot of us around the world about that, about losing loved ones, families, friends, colleagues, and but so I didn't really get the podcast for that year. I put out like a musical promo and a few things, but the podcast literally, it like the 1 year anniversary of creating Geek Homeworld, I still call it 6 years because we basically went 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, something like that. I don't know. I think 2014, I feel like, is when we started Geek Homeworld, and then we didn't really actually get the podcast going for almost a year, and that's not something I had planned. It's just, life gets in the way, and it's been a heck of a ride, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a growing, living journey, and as podcasting should be, and you grow over time, and you deal with different things, and I've had my share of things I've had to deal with, and people, and just trying to be a good person in this world, and getting to that next level of success, whether it's personal, financial, spiritual. It's just leveling up in life, kind of like a video game, but far more important. And being part of the podcast, or having this outlet to podcast, has always been a great way to kind of get my thoughts across, and I've put more of myself, I think, into the podcast over 2020, and there were some kind of very serious episodes that were a little bit off the normal trajectory of podcasting, but it has evolved. The podcast has evolved, and there have been times I've thought about ending the podcast, but then I'm like, I need a different outlet. During this whole journey, I started a radio show in 2018, and in June of 2018, Savannah on Film, and you can find links to all this. Basically, search the internet for Geek Homeworld. That's us. Savannah on Film is we're on Twitter, and I think that's Savannah on Film Radio 1 or something like that. That might be the Instagram, and one of them is Savannah on Film Radio. That could be the Instagram. I don't know. I'm too tired to think about it, and it's my podcast. I'll say what the heck I want when I want to. But Savannah on Film has been highly successful, the radio show that I do, and spun that off into a podcast. So wherever you get your podcast, especially through Anchor, and it kind of distributes it out to Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, but Savannah on Film, you can listen to that in audio podcast form. We also have a YouTube channel there, so those are some of the endeavors that I've done, and it's fun to talk to people in the film industry, of which I'm working in, that I've been working in since 2017. So I did the massive career change from corporate America to being this kind of free agent kind of person, working in the industry, and I've worn different hats other than this Star Wars hat I'm wearing now. But you know what I mean. So I've learned a lot along the way, and it's been a very fulfilling journey, and it still continues to take me different directions that I had not planned. I never thought that while I was pursuing a film career as a production sound mixer, that later I would get into other aspects of the industry that were behind the camera in an office type of situation, in a good way. And there's been a lot of roads I've traveled in, hopefully a lot more different roads that I'll travel in this journey of I don't want to call it self-discovery, but I guess it is in a way, just finding a different perspective on things, a different way of doing things, and just different skills mainly that I'm picking up and reinforcing, and it's kind of like a windy river, I love to quote the Beatles song, it's definitely been a long and winding road to where I am now here at this 150th episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast. And we ventured more into the video realm, which does not come naturally to me. It's hard to look at a camera and just speak, and the lights are, here and there, and trying to get everything properly lit in the background, exciting enough, and all that good stuff. But there's so many technical aspects to it, and I can, enhance different things about how this presentation of this is. But anyway, there's a lot of fun involved with this. There's a lot that goes into putting together a podcast, and then the video portion. It's much easier, like when you do radio, when you don't have to have the video aspect to it. Even though I've done some Facebook Lives, that's how I started out once I was able to get a good enough phone years ago. It was just a radio show spent on film, and then I added the interactive kind of Facebook live aspect to it. And then I had a security YouTube channel and didn't do as much with it, but I did kind of these compilation videos that would just take me endless hours, and it was too much work to do and handle other jobs and responsibilities in life. Sometimes you need a little time off from things. You need a little time away to recharge your batteries, as it were. And so it's always been, all these endeavors have been out of the love and the joy of creating, being a content creator, and being able to bring value to what I do and in the visual medium, but it's been more important for the audio portion of that. That's always been like what I do. So I would always say I'm a podcaster before I am anything else, and I say that with a lot of pride and with a lot of just knowing that I'm putting out a quality product here. Hopefully, I could have gotten to 150 episodes a long time ago. I did it quicker with the Digital Man Cave podcast, but there have been times I haven't podcasted. I just took roughly a 4-month unintended 4 months off from the podcast. Like, WandaVision came out, and I thoroughly loved the show. It was appointment television, working these long, hard hours on a feature film, which I'm still working on, thankfully, and I'm very appreciative for the opportunities that were given to me and that I've earned by working on this project, and I hope it leads to so much more, even greater projects in the future. I'm super excited about that. Forgive me if my facial and body characteristics or reactions don't seem like that. If I seem a little monotone, it is almost 2 o'clock in the morning by the time I got everything set up the way I wanted for this video recording of the podcast, and also the audio portion. I could have easily just knocked this out hours ago with much more energy, but I'm getting tired, so don't misplace that for my lack of enthusiasm or appreciativeness, being appreciative for the opportunities in film that I have been given, that I've earned, that I've been lucky enough, or whatever the situation may be, the situations that have brought me to where I am now and to the success I hope to continue to have, to continue to contribute in a positive way. And as for podcasting, I'm always going to be a podcaster. I can't imagine not being a podcaster. I just decided with Geek Homeworld, I was at this point where I was building everything, and I was like, okay, you've got to get on this, back on this regular schedule you used to have, so people will know when you're putting out content. And I was getting downloads for the last 4 months, pretty good downloads, even though I'd put out nothing new. And I didn't say that I was going anywhere. It started out as a little Christmas break because I needed it, and then it became there was less and less to talk about, because on this podcast we talk about a lot of geeky things, but mostly we talk about film and television, behind the camera, behind the scenes, but mainly we talk about breakdowns of our favorite TV shows and the awards season, all the different awards shows, and we talk about, those accolades and stuff like that, and industry news. We talk about films and just, superhero films, or like Marvel, DC, the Zack Snyder. We just had that video, which is done quite well, and thank you for your responses to that, and everybody who's taken the time to watch that, to listen to that episode. But the Zack Snyder cut finally came out of Justice League, and it was fantastic. And you can look here on the channel and on YouTube and see the video of that, which would be the last episode 149. You can also check out, wherever you listen to podcasts, if you just want to listen. But I've also decided in my creation process, it's not about, though the algorithm says it kind of is, especially on YouTube, the algorithm says, quantity, but I'd rather put out quality than quantity. And sometimes as a podcaster, you just need to get away. You kind of need to grow a little bit. You need to distance yourself from it, and you've got to miss it enough that that it becomes more vital for you. And that's kind of how podcasting has become. And that wasn't really an intention. It just kind of was there, and just different things, dealing with the pandemic, getting through the pandemic, losing loved ones and friends and film friends of mine who've lost people, whether it was COVID related or not. It's been a tough year, and we're almost into April, where it's, as I'm recording this, is March 28th, 2021. So I meant to say April. We're coming up on April of 2021, and we're still dealing with the pandemic, even though there's 3 or 4 vaccines out there. And I got my first one last Saturday, and so I'm going to get another one soon, which I'm excited for. I've had almost 0 side effects, thankfully, but I know how important it is. I'm still wearing my mask everywhere. That's why I haven't, the cool thing is I haven't had to shave much, but it's easier to wear a mask because, like, when I go to work, I've got the surgical mask on, and then I've got like the cloth masks, the ones that you can rewash, recycle and all that stuff, But the surgical masks, obviously, they're one use, and you trash them and all that. And but I've been double masking it since way back in 2020, and it's weird because I am an extrovert right now. You can't tell my energy level, but once again, it's nearly 2 a.m. in the morning, so I don't really have the energy right now. So this video, I hope you're getting past that and giving me a pass on that. So remember, it's about the message, and it's about what we're talking about here. I know we're going to get into some more fun stuff as the year rolls out and more films come to theaters and or streaming services. We finally got around to watching Mulan tonight, quite literally, and we're going to go back and watch the cartoon version, and they're totally different, but I enjoyed it. The whole Premiere Pass thing that Disney Plus did, not a fan of it. Not going to pay $30, no matter who you are. I'm not going to pay $30 to watch a film. Especially when I have the AMC pass where I can go and watch 3 films a week, even though it's been very difficult to do that, and still under pandemic conditions as we are, believe it or not, we still are, and I'm just trying to be safe, and but yeah, the whole premium pass kind of thing, I'll just have to avoid the internet until like Black Widow is a cheaper price or no price at all, included in my subscription to Disney Plus, or maybe I'll be able to be safe enough after I'm vaccinated a second time. By then I will be, and I'll have my full vaccine, and the 2 weeks after that, they suggest still wearing masks and stuff like that, and hopefully we'll reach enough herd immunity here in the country, here in the U.S., and hopefully worldwide, that we can start, really moving past the pandemic, and hopefully we'll be much smarter on the other side of this, because I've always believed we'd make it through, but 500,000 people plus passed away from COVID is staggering numbers that I can't even imagine. It's seeing my Facebook feed from a year ago when the pandemic was just really starting to, and the quarantining and the, stay-at-home orders and the masking orders and social distance and all that stuff that started to become a thing. It really changed. It changed everything. Excuse me. But that's the thing, is we all the time we overuse a lot of words. We say, yeah, it changed everything, but it literally did. This time, this was something that literally affected the entire world. And some countries did better than others. I mean, we have a lot at our disposal here in the United States, but we did a poor job of the response, and we could have done a better job. We're possibly heading into a 4th wave of this, and maybe COVID is something we have to learn to live with, but I believe that we're going to get past it, that we're going to develop enough immunity eventually, enough people taking the shots and doing what the CDC recommends, and the World Health Organization, what they all represent, what they recommend, and we can all get back to work, because I see the film industry, we're taking every precaution. The productions I've been involved with are taking, and the ones I'm aware of that I have friends working on, they're taking every possible, not production, they're taking every possible, what's the word I'm looking for? Every possible means of keeping the crew safe and keeping everybody, as healthy as possible, and, providing the right conditions and adhering to safety and cleanliness policies. And even when the pandemic's gone, it'd be nice to see some of those, practices to just become part of what we should do anyway on a film set, on a location. And excuse me, I'm yawning again. You can't see that, but it's 2 o'clock. It finally is 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm recording. So 150 is a big number, isn't it? It's amazing to get this far into a podcast, and I've seen it change and evolve, and there are times I wanted to say, I've had enough, I'm done, let's just call it a day, but I feel like there's more life in this podcast, and I'm gonna keep going as long as this is something that I enjoy doing and putting out content, and I hope to gain a greater audience, and I hope that I gain a more sincere and appreciative audience for the content I'm putting out there. Am I the best at what I do? No. There are a lot of people that think they are, but they aren't. But, I do make an effort. I am passionate about the things I believe in. And I do think I have a unique perspective on things. And from different shows and films. And I just feel that need to get my point across. So that's always an important thing to do, to have your voice heard, to, affect positive change in this world. And it's okay to have an opinion, that disagrees with others. It's totally okay. And, what's popular doesn't have to be exactly what you're into. You may not be. And anyway, I've got some exciting collaborations I want to work on this year of 2021. There's a lot that I'm looking forward to moving forward, and I just plan on so many other things to just go really well this year. Just kind of looking at the possibilities of those collaborations, and we'll see what happens. And as more films start rolling out, and not just to streaming services but to actual theaters, it'll be nice to see, to finally have something concrete to talk about on episodes. I know we have the Disney Plus. I did not want to miss talking about the 2 episodes so far that we've seen of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I like, from little things, I like the music. The theme music is pretty good. I like the Lethal Weapon kind of good cop, bad cop kind of buddy comedy, because there is a little bit of comedy in that. But I do like the fact that it is dealing with issues that are affecting us even in 2021, and issues of race and ageism and different things like that. Some of those topics Marvel is not afraid to tackle, and I'm glad that they're making this Phase 4 a little bit more realistic for the viewers, and a little bit more reflective of the actual times we're living in. And it's very interesting to see how all this is affecting life, and the storylines of the stories, that the wonderful breadth of stories that I know Marvel still has to tell. And I'm so excited for that. And there's some films going into production, like Captain Marvel 2, I think, is in production now. And they just wrapped on Spider-Man 3, which would be Spider-Man. Is it No, not Into the Spider-Verse. No, it's No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home. And some of the parting gifts the crew were given, I've seen pictures online, and they kind of give away a bit of a spoiler, but certainly not going to repeat that here. Going to respect the rights of that film, but I know what it's like to work on a film that's exciting, and I've had the opportunity to be in the sound department before and to see how films are made, and it's been an eye-opening, rewarding experience. I don't know that I can say the current position I'm working in now. I'm not going to, at this point at least. And I do want to say it was a total change of pace for me, a little throwback to some of what I used to do in the corporate world, but I'm working with great people, and I'm enjoying it, and it's been very satisfying, and it's been wonderful to actually to start off this year of 2021, these last several months, to be employed. And because it was a little wild there, And I had offers in 2020 I had to turn down just because of COVID and because I didn't feel it was safe, and it just, it wasn't right. Not to say they weren't safe productions, and they not to say that they weren't doing everything possible to be safe, but it just, sometimes you're not feeling it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of, you know, personal safety and my family's safety and my friend's safety is of the most paramount of things. And so you have to sometimes in life make those hard decisions whether to take on a project or not. And there are some projects I did not take on. There's a few interviews I was going to do and a few scoops I've had on some episodes, and I'm still going to have those episodes on my Savannah on Film, but I see some people have already kind of scooped me on it. That's fine, I don't care what other people are doing. I don't judge my content by their content. I celebrate what they do and celebrate, who they are, as long as they're doing really wonderful and positive things that are benefiting, the overall collective nature of everyone. And but it's funny to see other people kind of, get that information and get their spin on it. And I'm like, that's cool, but I'm going to show up and I'm going to give my opinion. So, whether it's in line with theirs or not is what it is. And more power to those people, more power to everyone who's been able to create. And it's weird because when I look at 2020, I look at it was a hard time for a lot of us, and I see these people that are talking about just doing the right things, and just I watch people like Gary Vee, who's wonderful and he's fantastic and he's a great motivational guy. And but I look at other creators even closer to home, and I see all the stuff they're doing, and I'm really proud of them, and I'm really excited for what they're doing. But I'm also not comparing anything that I'm doing to them, and that, I believe in supporting others, but 2020 has been very difficult, and a lot of reasons. Emotionally, it was a really tough year, one of the toughest, but I'm an optimist, and I believe that things are going to get better, and they've already gotten better in 2021, and I just believe, we're going to move forward to even better and greater times in all of our lives and all of our careers, and I just think you've really got to stay focused on that. Now, I'm not going to be the rah-rah, cheering you up here and saying, you can do it, and and I'll say things like that, but right now, sometimes I want you to know it's okay if you're not achieving. It's okay if you're not feeling comfortable in your own skin, if you're not feeling up to 110% of your capacity of creativity. This could be a great time of thinking. Just think of all the films that didn't get made and what time they had to do revisions or whatever, or, think up new things, and, the people coming up with ideas and screenplays and all this wonderful stuff. And, I see the stories of all those people that are overachieving, and they looked at 2020 as this new rebirth, and then, and just, it was in a way because a lot of us had to change things about ourselves and how we approach business and how we approach creating and how we approach getting across to our audiences, whether it's our art, and I like to say the word art, but I mean it's painting, it's podcasting, it's poetry, it's writing, it's content creation, whatever your art is, your form of entertainment, of being informative, of being critical of things, without being, mean-spirited, but, being like constructive criticism about things. And, there's so many facets to creating art, but when you're creative and you're creating these things, or I should say you're not creating, at least to me, it feels like, it's just all wasted time. And it's not necessarily wasted time. We've got to learn that just because other people have expectations they put upon you does not mean that what they are saying is who you are or what your worth is. They do not determine your worth. You know what you're capable of. You know when you're capable of something. And it's okay if you don't meet deadlines. It's okay. Now, if you're being paid and you've got a deadline, you have to meet that deadline. That's, part of a contract, it's part of a deal. But I'm talking about if you've got your own kind of, let's say you had it all mapped out what you were going to do in 2020, and then 2020 told you something totally different, right? It's okay if you did not super succeed and you did not just make everything the way that you wanted it to be in 2020. It's okay, because living is the most important thing, and your art will be affected by what you've been through, good or bad, and it'll show up there. And that's the beauty of being a creative person. But yes, it is difficult. We've all been taught you have to create, you have to keep producing, you have to put out product, you have to sell it, you have to sell it to people, and people are tired of being sold to, and they're tired of being this and that and force-fed this, and you get overexposed, you get, all of that. It comes with the territory, but it's, people understand a sales pitch when they hear it, and they're tired of sales pitches. And that's fine, and that's just life, and that's just the business. But the important thing is that you create from the heart, from your heart, from the heart, and you create good quality creations that you truly believe in. And yeah, I've even tried to work the algorithm and put out content this year and stay on a steady schedule and do my search engine optimizations and to please the almighty algorithms, and yeah, that's fine to chase that, and that's fine if that works out for you, and if you're doing it, more power to you if that makes you happy. But creating, being a creative, sometimes you can't put a price on that. You can't really put a price on quality, and you're never probably gonna be financially appreciated in the sense for your creativity on a financial sense. Maybe in your lifetime you may not ever get that. And do not equate that with your self-worth or your worth, period, because you're much more than that. So that kind of ties into this 150th episode. It could have come sooner, but it's just a number in the end. And it's all about life experiences. It's about feeling comfortable saying what you're saying, living your own truths, no matter what people say or think, and just really knowing what you're worth, and not just financially, but knowing what you're worth in your soul and what feeds your creativity. Focus on that. That's the most important thing, is to focus on your creativity, what feeds your soul. It's like, the body needs water, to live. Give your body that kind of creative water so it can survive and and even thrive in these barren kind of creative situations we all kind of find ourselves in at times. So anyway, enough with the platitudes and the good wishes, which I kind of got into there, but it's all from the heart, and I do wish you all well. I hope that 2021, I know that 2021, I should say, is going to be, it's already a better year than 2020, and I really hope and believe for you that 2021 is going to be much better than you've anticipated. You know, we've probably had to lower our expectations after 2020, and that's fine, but I feel we're all going to come out of the other side of this, whether it's 2021 or it's into 2022. The mask, I think, eventually going to go away. We're going to have that herd immunity. People will have been vaccinated far before that, and fully vaccinated, and I believe we're going to get past this, and things are going to come roaring back. The economy is starting to open up again, hopefully safely, and it's still important, I think, to wear your mask. I think it's still important to adhere to those CDC guidelines about COVID-19, about, you know, I think the pollen season has been much less brutal this year, I think, because we had a longer winter, not necessarily a colder one here in the south, but we had a longer winter, it seems like, because I know the azaleas that we're famous for in the town I live in here, in the big city, they came after St. Patrick's Day, which St. Patrick's Day, our big parade, one of the biggest in the country, in the world, in fact, it was canceled for a second year, and that's the smart thing. But I'm looking forward to this summer. I'm looking forward to hopefully more work throughout the year on a consistent basis. That would be so appreciated, and you have no idea. It's nice to have started this year off feeling productive and actually being productive, and you know, because there was a lot of downtime in 2020, and some of it was by my own, you know, dealing with being safe and healthy, and doing my best for all those who lost someone dear to them, a friend of not just a friend, but a family member, people you've worked with, colleagues or whatever. My heart goes out to you, because I know it's not easy, and you're gonna get through it. Things are gonna get better. Just gotta be kind of faithful about it, and just believe. Find out, go to that place within yourself where you trust yourself, and that things are going to get better, and get yourself in that right mental place, because a lot of people have been affected mentally, and that can really block your creativity. And so you want to have your head all screwed on right. You want to be in that right headspace so that you can create, and you can create from a really good perspective that's productive, and really yields wonderful accolades and everything else for you, and just wonderful gifts from all the seeds you've planted. So anyway, I'm going to end this episode before I pass out and fall asleep here while recording. And anyway, I want to thank you for joining me here on this episode 150. I was going to make a big deal about it, but I just realized, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the 150th episode. Maybe when we have some more time, and I'll have some more guests on, and we can kind of celebrate. But it would really be a great celebration, and early birthday present to me if you all went to YouTube, Geek Homeworld, and you subscribe to the channel. You did the same with Savannah on Film, and subscribe to the channels, enable those notifications for new content, give some thumbs up to the videos, leave some nice comments wherever you listen to your podcasts, whether it's Geek Homeworld or Savannah on Film, on Anchor, on Google Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts. Leave some comments, some thumbs up, whatever. Subscribe to them there. Listen to the content. Hopefully you enjoy it. We'll take suggestions on the appropriate platforms for each of these podcasts. If, there's people you want us to chat with, if you want a guest you want to see on these podcasts, if there's topics, ideas you want us to cover, if they're viable within the ecosystem of each podcast or each show, as it were, we'll certainly look at that and see where we go from there. So don't forget, follow us on Twitter at Geek Homeworld, and Sven on Film is on Twitter as well. And so just Google it, if Sven on Film or Geek Homeworld, and you'll find us. That's probably us. So anyway, I want to thank you for 150 episodes of the Geek Homeworld podcast. You don't know how much it means to have listeners, and we have a worldwide base of listeners. In 2020, we picked up a lot of people from the continent of Africa, so welcome aboard. We've gotten more from England and France is still like one of our second biggest international outside of the U.S. It's like probably one of our biggest group of listeners, so thank you very much for listening. Picked up more listenership from Ireland, which, me being a bit of Irish, I really appreciate that. And anyway, I appreciate all the listeners from all around the world, and especially the ones in the U.S. that have been listening. And people are always shy about commenting. They don't comment as much as they used to, and that's okay. But, I know you're out there watching. I know you're out there listening. I hope I've said something in this episode or any of my episodes that really inspires you in a good way to be creative, to be kind to others, to really work on your content, to put out good quality content. And hopefully you've had fun along the journey so far with us on Geek Homeworld and also on Savannah on Film. So anyway, I'm super tired. I'm got to call it a morning, I guess, instead of a night. But thank you all for being here for this episode. And I never know how to end it. I just will go on forever. But I'm going to turn out the lights here, as it were. Just, anyway, bring this all to an end. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all those services, all those social entities. And I'm your host, Ed Ciucevich, aka by my gamer name of Ciucevich Techman. And thank you for joining me for hopefully another exciting, informative, and fun episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast. And we'll just roll the outro and we're gone. So thank you all very much. I really do appreciate it. Have a great time. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And let's make 2021 and beyond better every day. Thanks again. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld with your host, Ciucevich Techman. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+. Follow and interact with us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on iTunes and leave a review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Read our thoughts on Blogger. See you again on the Geek Homeworld.